Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and I'm really excited about 2026 coming up. And we are kicking off our BA Mag training series with Lynn Yuan Su, who is a seven-figure mindset coach. And she's going to be giving us a talk on mindset secrets for authors who want to lead. You can register for that at bamagtraining.com, and it'll be on January 9th. And I'm super excited because what better way to kick off the year than having your goals ready and being inspired to step into those goals. So get yourself signed up for it, bamagtraining.com. Today's guest is one of our authors. His name is Marshall Peter, and he's the founder of Neuro-Synchronology, a pioneer in the discipline that harmonizes the conscious and subconscious. As a parent and thought leader who has raised children both before and during the digital era, Marshall brings deep insight and compassion to the modern challenges of parenting in a tech-driven world. And if you guys haven't bought his book, Digital Daze, and Daze is spelled Daze, you need to. It's every parent's guide to the balance between allowing your children to consume some screen time, but to consume it in a very productive way. And we're going to talk about that today because I know it is so easy to get hooked on social media and video games and, all these different things that take us away from the beauty of the real world and real relationships. So stand by for my interview with Marshall. Marshall, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate being on.
I'm very excited about your book. There are a lot of parents out there who need this book. So tell me a little bit about what inspired you to write Digital Daze and what's the main message that you hope to share with parents?
The start of Digital Days is a bit weird actually because it was a client's daughter in the UK having trouble with her kids and technology. And so she asked me if I could help out. Because of timing, I just literally sat down one evening and wrote down a 3-page strategy on how she can help her kids using Neurosync. And when I sent that over as an email, I got an email back probably about a week and a half later going, "This is fantastic. I've shared it with all my friends at school, other parents, and they really loved it. And you got to do something about it. You got to share the message." And that started me off. So shortly after that, I decided to make it into a book because I've had 2 kids prior to the whole technology era and 2 kids post-technology era. And it's chalk and cheese. You really look at the kids and how they develop. It's really chalk and cheese. What means anything to them in the relationship, the parent-child relationship has changed a lot. And you go out to shops and you go out to restaurants and you see people out there on, just sitting there with their phones on their hand rather than communicating and connecting with each other. And especially with kids because they're now using technology as in iPads or phones as the electronic babysitter, even at restaurants and at home. So the whole book is about strategies of how to reconnect your kids back to the family and how to re-engage them into activities outside of technology. I don't think technology is a bad thing as such. I think technology is a useful tool. But the main idea is how do you reconnect your children back to your family and bring it back to the core values that we used to have when you and I were kids.
Exactly. I actually, when we go to restaurants when the kids were younger, I still have to do it when they're older, unfortunately. I would have them put their phones away. And because I'm a writer, we would look around the room and I would make them tell stories about people at the tables next to
Awesome.
us. So
That's a
we
great idea.
make up stories about because it was a way to get their attention. So you mentioned neurosync, which is neurosynchronology. I can't
Yeah.
say it. So what is it, and how did it influence your approach to all of this?
So neurosynchronology is basically the synchronization of the conscious and the subconscious mind. I mean, it sounds pretty simple. We as human beings are pretty much driven by our subconscious mind. About 85% of us is driven by a subconscious mind and about 15% by a conscious mind. So quite often, have you ever thought like, I need to do something, but I'll go make a cup of coffee first? And in psychology, you call it procrastination, but it's actually your subconscious mind achieving a different goal to what your conscious mind wants. So what neurosynchronology is, how do you get your conscious and your subconscious mind to go after the same thing, the same goal? If you wanna make a sales call or you wanna have a chat with somebody that you feel like, I'm not ready to do that. And your subconscious mind goes, okay, let's go to safety. Let's go and make that cup of coffee, or let's go and distract ourselves with a TV show, or let's doom scroll. What neurosynchronology is about is connecting that back and making your subconscious and your conscious head in the same direction.
Oh, that's so interesting. I can always tell when I'm procrastinating because my house is spotless.
Yep.
And I know I'm procrastinating, but I do it anyway.
Yeah.
So
You do everything but what you got to do, right? Because,
exactly, exactly. But the
look,
other thing is too, I will say, like when I have a problem or I've never done something, I will actually go for a walk because
yeah,
it'll help me like clear my head and get back into it. So I don't consider that procrastination as
yep.
much as I need to get out in fresh air and get some creative juices going, like how I'm going to
So
approach this.
in our terms, we call that changing your state of mind, right? So
Hmm.
you're changing your location, you're changing your environment to change your state of mind.
Right.
And your association or your subconscious association with going for a walk and fresh air is like a renewed rejuvenation for yourself.
Oh,
So
interesting.
what happens is when we do that, the environment influences because we have an association with the environment. So it influences how we feel. Then we come back, go, I'm fresh, I'm ready to do that,
Yeah.
right? So it is when you really get into it, it's really cool because you understand why we do what we do on a regular basis.
Yeah, that is cool. So, in your opinion, what is the most urgent issue that we face with children and technology today?
I think the most urgent issue right now is our perception towards it, and let me explain that because as parents or as grandparents, we have this perception that they shouldn't be doing it at all or we should cut it off, right? If you look at cutting it off, technology right now is kids' connection to the world, right? The entire connection, what we used to do is cycle over to a neighbor's house and do that, but kids nowadays do it through technology. Now, the effective use of technology to me is the most important paradigm that has to come out of this. It's technology in its own is not bad. It's bad use of technology. So let me give you a different example, and hopefully the readers, the viewers will get an idea of this. So when cars first came out, we did not have traffic lights, we did not have roundabouts, we did not have speed limits, and so there are a lot more crashes, a lot more accidents, and a lot more damage. So imagine if governments go, cars are bad for us, automobiles are bad for us, and we got to ban automobiles because they're killing people. We didn't do that. What we did was we trained people to use cars effectively. We put traffic lights in, we put roundabouts in, we put speed limits, and then we put police in to police people using the vehicles properly. And the same thing with technology. So the biggest paradigm I'd love for people to get on board is technology is not bad. Bad use of technology is bad. Effective use of technology is super powerful.
So it's really about putting guidelines and boundaries and things in place. And I think you mentioned before the other when you say it's good, there are every child uses it now. So, they have to learn it to be productive in the world. So you can't just say we're not going to do any of it.
I was at a workshop up on the Sunshine Coast in Australia last week, and I was just talking to people there. And there's one parent that goes, "I'm not letting my kids have phones or technology till they're 15," right? And I was so worried about that because entrepreneurial friends, who one of the questions during interviews is going, "What games did you play on computers as a kid and as a teenager?" And if they didn't come up with the right games, they didn't get the job,
Oh,
right? So technology is now interwoven into our lives so much that if you are not tech savvy,
mhm.
your future is at risk at getting great jobs or, progressing. AI is coming into it as well. So we have got to get ahead of the curve. So we have to educate our kids to use technology effectively rather than just going, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, and remember when we grew up and then went to job interviews, it was, do you know Word? Do you know Excel? That was it.
Yep. Do you know how to
And
turn a
DOS
computer
was a
on?
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was DOS. I remember my first computer. I still have it. It's a Macintosh SE, right? And you had to
Oh,
put a disk in before you could start it up because the DOS program ran from the external
the
floppy
floppy.
disk. But look, the technology and gadgets and what we have in our hands. I remember listening to an article about we've got more power in our hands than what put the first man on the moon. in our phones. The technology in our phones is so far more advanced than what, did that. So effective use of that. Now, the other part of the book is also about how do you re-engage your kids? Because it's fine we say don't do that, but what are we replacing it with? Kids are taking up about 270 kilobytes of information per second. And now if you look at some children, they're watching TV and they have their phone in their hand at the
Yeah.
same time, right? So they're looking for more and more info and more input, like in the old Johnny Five movie, right? More and more input to keep them entertained. So how do we re-engage them outside of that? So there's the strategies in the book. I love the fact that you said about taking your kids to a restaurant and getting them to, talk about, make up stories of what people are talking about. I do that with my kids, or I used to when they were younger, take them out on the road and we'd make examples of things going on. And one year I remember vividly, it was Christmas, and we heard some bells. So we started making up stories that Santa was doing a trial run, practicing his trial run and practicing his route before he comes out to Christmas Eve to deliver the presents. So that conversation really expanded. And my kids were just going crazy with imagination and what they're talking and creating. That gives them the same amount of kilobytes per second, but it's more embedded, it's more internal. And that connection starts working again.
Yes, and I'm going to let you guys know how old I am here. Back in the 80s, when I worked at Day, we had the Apple account. I
Yep.
used to go through airports with what they called a portable Mac, which was about 2 feet high, a foot across, in a big styrofoam sort of container. And I used to
Yep.
have to carry that through airports.
Wow.
And you look at what it is now, where I can do all of that pretty much on my phone or with a laptop. We've come a very, very long way. And yes, I
Absolutely.
roamed the earth with the dinosaurs, for those of you who are wondering. So the book also describes creating tech-free zones. Tell us some of those practical tips. How do you do that? Because getting the phone out of your child's hand is almost impossible. Like the gun from my cold dead hand, I think is what
Yep.
Charlton Heston said.
Yep. Oh, exactly. Look, I think it's balance, right? Um, when we talk about tech-free zones, I talk about areas. So, for example, our dining table is a tech-free zone, right? I used to make the lounge a tech-free zone too, but it was pretty hard because if the TV wasn't on and the kids want to do something, making the lounge a tech-free zone didn't quite work out. But the dining table, when we eat, it's a tech-free zone. It's interesting. I had a friend of mine who was in real estate, and he used to sit at the same spot every time at his house when he was dining, right? And I'm talking about the subconscious part of the game. And when he quit his job in a bigger company, so he started working from home, and he said, "Mate, I just can't get motivated at home. I just can't get motivated." I said, "Where do you work?" He says, "Oh, I work at the table." "Is that the spot you sit when you eat your breakfast and lunch and dinner?" "Yeah, yeah, I only sit in the same spot." I said, "So your neuro association with that spot is basically, this is my comfy spot. This is where I eat, I relax, I have conversations. So your brain's not going to get motivated in that spot." I said, "Just change where you sit to a different part of the table and see how you go." So the next day he calls me and he goes, "You know what? It worked. I sat at a different part of the table and that was my work zone." So I had my work zone and my personal zone. So when we make our dining table a tech-free zone, that is our connection zone. And when we explain it that way, kids slowly, and you got to do it slowly. You can't just go, "Give me the phone." First, we get them to put the phone upside down, right? And then say, "Hey, do you mind doing me a favor? Can we just leave that phone over there because it's distracting our conversation?" So you take it in stages,
Right.
right? You tell our young kids these days they can't do something, and the first thing they want to do is rebel.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Massive rebellion. The
Yeah.
screaming begins. I.
So when we do it and in bite-sized chunks, smaller pieces, first we get them to, "Oh, can you just put the phone down just for a couple of minutes while we have this chat?" Then it goes to turn the phone upside down while we have this chat. Then it goes to taking the phone and putting it on the sidebar when we have the chat. And then this becomes our tech-free zone. So one of the things I love doing after dinner is playing games. So in a Connect Four, or we played Hangman. We had a friend come over for dinner once, and she goes, "You got a whiteboard?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." So we brought out the whiteboard, and post dinner we played Hangman, and the kids absolutely loved it. So it's how do we entertain their minds, their little minds, away from technology? That's the question. The question is not taking it away from them. What are we replacing it with? Are we replacing it with loving conversations, talking about values, talking about beliefs, or are we replacing it with nothing, just saying they can't have it?
Very good point. Okay,
Right.
I'm going to hit all the parents here. So I notice when I'm out that the parents are just as bad as the kids with the phone, but they're telling their kids to put their phones away. So, talk a little bit about how you have to model the behavior you'd like to see.
Our kids, our children, their greatest role model is us as parents. Monkey see, monkey do, kid see, kid do, right? So when a parent is sitting at a dinner table, and I hear this all the time, I'm just doing emails. I have to do this for work. And in Australia, we have a saying, is it worth a sheep station? Are you talking about sheep stations? If you don't send that email in this next 3 seconds, are you going to lose a sheep station? Are you going to lose $1 million? Or can you actually create an environment where you go, you know what, for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to put my priorities, my love, my focus towards my children. That is a conscious thing that we have to do. And the crazy part about it is we have to detox ourselves,
Yes.
right? We actually have to detox ourselves from the addiction that we have. We justify our addiction by saying we got work to do.
Yes.
Nobody works 12, 14, 16 hours a day.
No.
I've got 5 companies. I don't work that many hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to prioritize. And it's about, I'm not being mean to parents. Please take this the right way. But you've trained yourself that your phone's more important than your kids right now.
Yes, and I actually remember going to some place with my mother and I left my phone at home. And
Mm.
I can't tell you, I was agitated. I felt like I was naked without my telephone. Like it
Yep.
was really, and I remember we were out way out in the country, and my mother's like, "You wouldn't have gotten reception here anyway. Quit complaining." Uh,
Yep.
with it. So I think we definitely do get addicted to our own phones. So that leads me to what about those parents? Like I just described, I was completely overwhelmed not having my phone. How do you, what advice would you have for those parents who are not only overwhelmed by themselves putting down the phone, but getting the kids to do it too? Because it can be really overwhelming when you get that pushback from everybody about it.
I think the biggest part is by step, small steps at a time.
Hmm.
In a total ban, in my opinion, doesn't work. Take it step by step. Just go, all right, guys, let's practice putting the phone down just for 5 minutes. It's like going to the gym. If I say when we go to the gym, can you bench press a 50 kilos straight away? You can't. You got to build that muscle up. And the brain is a muscle. So you got to build that muscle up by little stages, little steps. All right, for the next 5 minutes, we're all not going to look at our phone. And we're just going to look at each other's eyes and engage and tell stories and have fun.
Now they're all looking at the Apple Watch.
And then okay, guys, 5 minutes is up. All right, everybody get your quick hit. Okay, cool. Then you can expand that to 10 minutes and then expand that to 30 minutes, right? So it's about creating those habits. And like I said, the most important part about this is replacing the habits with something fun. Because the kids go, I'll put the phone down, but we're not talking. I'm just bored,
Mhm.
right? The second part, actually did this with my son yesterday. He was a teenager, but I spoke about my intent of why I'm concerned and what I'm looking for my son to achieve in the future and how this affects them in the future, right? So telling them the intent, mate, I really love you, and this is why I would like you to put that down, or I would like you to do this because this is how it's going to affect you in the future. It's really important that our kids understand what is our intent behind what we're saying. Are we just saying that just to discipline them? Because if they if they get the impression that we're saying it just to discipline them, it's like, oh, yeah, who cares?
You're nagging then.
You're nagging. Yeah, exactly. But man, I'm doing this out of love for you, and I want to give you a better future. Now, by the way, you're gonna have to repeat that at least 6 to 8 times before it actually sinks in. It doesn't sink in. It's the same thing with us. We hear a bit of information. It takes us 6 times before our brain actually registers and creates a neural pathways where it creates a solid memory, right? So the important part is replacing the habit with something that's fun.
Yes,
I'm not saying
absolutely.
have a food fight, but that's not a bad thing to do either.
Well, as long as you're not the one that has to clean it up.
Sometimes that's what a price paying, right? Because what you're
Yeah.
doing is, remember we spoke about before when you said about going for a walk. And when you go for a walk and it changes your entire mental state. So right now in houses, the mental state of the table is still now, in today's day, it's a technology base. So to break that state, to make it into a fun state, yes, you might have to have a couple of food fights to break the environment and say, hey, this is a place of fun. Yes, there's going to be cleanup and all of that. I apologize for that. But what it does mentally, it creates that the table is a place of fun. Our dining table is a place of fun, right? So that's the subconscious part of it. So now, would be 2 months later, 3 months later, kids would go, hey, can we have another food fight? Now,
Okay.
as a parent, I think it's your duty, not an if for, it's your duty to have that food fight, to create that fun environment, to show the kids that, hey, we can have fun,
Yeah.
or make paper planes, throw it around. Be creative. Get the kids to be creative.
We play Cards Against Humanity, which I'm not sure how healthy that is, figuring out which one of us is the most demented.
We can go back to Uno, or whatever you call it, or there we call it Uno, or here, or anything.
Uh, That's no
Connect,
fun.
yeah,
It's no fun.
connect pool. A lot of stuff is just really cool. When you start, as a parent, start thinking, I need to be creative to make things fun,
Uh,
right? My son loves to cook, absolutely loves to cook. So that's part of our connection before we come to the table. And then when he serves up food, it's just, he looks amazing. He has to present it fantastically well, right? So
mhm.
every now and then I'll put something a little bit out of line. I hope he doesn't watch this video because I don't want
Oh,
him to pick up on
Dad's
my
playing
trick.
games with him.
Yeah. So every now and then I'll just take a couple of spaghetti lines and just put it a little bit out of line. And you go, what happened there? And, I'm breaking his state. I'm changing the way he looks at it. And then we have fun at the table. But if we make that a serious place of doom and gloom, like the news always is, you can't expect kids to give up their technology.
That makes sense. So, last question. Online is a pretty dangerous place for kids these days. How do you make sure in all this digital world? Like, I think we had a discussion about something called roadblocks a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago. How do you make sure that your kids are viewing things that are healthy? Because there's so much out there that's bullying, it's not healthy, porn addiction, things like that.
I think if we remove technology for a sec, because I love the psychology with kids and all that, and the first part of that is teaching them the right values. Teaching them what is good, what is bad, what is good for them for their future, and what is going to influence them the bad way. We do that with food. It's interesting because my son goes to me last night. He says, "Dad, I want to have a cleansing out month next month of eating healthy food." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
In December?
I know he's 15. I'm like, dude, can we do it just before Christmas? Because Christmas is going to be fun.
Right.
But kids are already teenagers and young kids are already thinking that way, right? So all we got to do is neuro associate that with the bad parts of technology. So if we guide them and say, hey, doing this is how it's going to affect you. Doing that, this is how it's going to affect you. Which would you like, right? That's part one. Part two is get engaged in the stuff that they're doing. Stand behind them. Say, hey, can I play with you? Can I join you? Can I see what you're doing? That's really cool. Rather than judging it, encourage it. You
Mhm.
might not like it, but if you encourage it, they will bring you into their world. If you judge their world, they will take you out of their world. They will block you from their world. You want to be in their world. And when you encourage them, they bring you into their world. The second, and to me, the one of the most important things, and it's not just about technology bullying, cyber bullying, but it's also any form of bullying, is your kids need to know irrevocably, they need to know that you have their back.
Mhm.
And one of the ways to achieve that is I tell my kids that they have a get out of jail free card, right? They get two a year. So this get out of jail free card, they can use anytime. And no matter what they've done wrong, no matter what they've done, no questions asked, I will get them out of it, right?
Wow.
So you can imagine, like, my kids have hardly ever used it, but they have this get out of jail free card. So when they royally screw up something, one, they know that dad's not going to punish them, but two, they know that dad's a safe zone.
Mhm.
And then to follow that up to the next step is what I tell them is, if I'm the first to find out something that goes wrong, I can do something about it. If I'm the second or third person to find out that something's gone wrong, that ship's already sailed. I can't protect you that easily,
Ah, interesting.
right? So I keep repeating this. My son's teenager, so I keep repeating to him, if I'm the first to find out, I've got your back. The job of a parent is to protect you. Yes, you will get into trouble for doing something silly, but
Mhm.
that's secondary. Let's take care of the problem first. So if I'm the first to find out, I will protect you. I love you. I will protect you. And they need to know that. Secondly, you get punishment. do the crime, do the time, basically, right? But if they don't know that they have a safe zone to come to the parents, unfortunately, they go to other kids.
Hmm.
And the advice that they get from the other kids is panic, run, all the stuff that you shouldn't be doing,
Right.
right?
All the some teenagers do, full of bad ideas.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. They need to know the parent is a safe zone. Cyberbullying really affects kids because they don't have a safe zone at home to go to. Because if a kid comes home and says to their mother or their father, Dad, I accidentally sent this picture away, or I did this, or I did that. Parents first think, why did you do that? Are you stupid? Blah, blah, And when you go after them that way, it's not a safe zone. But if you can stop yourself and say, hey, okay, what's happened? How do I fix this? How do I protect my kid first? Let's worry about the spilling of the milk later. How do I protect my kid first? And if that's your priority, it changes the way you relate to your kids and it changes the way the kids relate to you. I'm
Absolutely.
not saying we're all perfect at it. I'm not perfect at it because you want to react, right?
Right.
We're human, but it's remembering that and just making that a habit.
Yeah, that's really great. Okay, so digitaldays.com.au. You
Yep.
have a quiz over there, and you also are starting workshops
Yep.
for parents so that they can learn a little bit more and do some exercises on that. Tell us
And
a little
practice
bit
the
about that
skill.
quiz. And you guys, that's at digitaldays.com.au. So remember that AU.
Yep.
Tell us what they're going to find out from that.
So basically, it's about 12 questions that you answer. And once you go through the questions, it asks you questions about your kid's behavior. And based on that, you get a 2-page report saying what level of addiction they have to technology and what are the short term and long term consequences of that.
Oh, wow.
So I think education is power, but effective use of the education is powerful,
Mhm.
right? So the whole idea of that quiz is for you to get an understanding of where your kid is in the spectrum of addiction and a couple of steps of what you can do about it. Part two of your question, the workshop. The workshop is basically for, I keep it as an open forum workshop where we talk about the actual problems that people are going through inside of their house with technology and children. And the whole idea is to equip parents on strategies that they can literally go and implement straight away
Mhm.
because it's all great. Like, I remember years and years and years ago, and I'm digressing, but I'll bring it back to you. I remember Tony Robbins saying he read a few thousand books, right? So a friend of mine said, I'm going to be like Tony Robbins, and he read 750 books or something in a year. I read about maybe 50 or less. But one of the things was every book that I read, I couldn't finish it because I'd started applying what I learned straight away.
Right.
Whereas my friend read the books and thought it'll apply itself.
Yes.
Okay. Massive difference.
Yes, because you're actually executing what you've learned.
And even Stephen Covey in his book talks about, teach what you just learned so that you become it really embeds into your mind. So the same thing, strategies are strategies. They're useless until they're effectively used. And so in the workshops we practice that. How do you so I get parents encourage parents to say, okay, how does the conversation go? And they'll tell me, oh, I tried to take technology away and this what happened. So I say, okay, next time that happens, here's something you can do. And I talk a lot about breaking the state, breaking the emotional state that the kid is in, because once you break that, you can actually put them into a different state.
Mhm.
And that could be anything from, oh, did you just hear the dog barking? Or like I said before, the food fight, or there's little strategies you can do. In boardroom, sometimes if the boardroom that I'm in and everybody's getting really agitated, I break the state by spilling water. I literally bump a glass and the glass falls down, water goes everywhere, and everybody goes, oh,
Uh,
oh, well. And then everybody gets into the mentality of, oh, let's help clean it up, let's help clean it up. And suddenly they've gone from an angry state to a let's help clean it up. And then when we restart the conversation, everybody's like, oh, cool, we're in a helping state of mind. So it's different. So it's really important that, those strategies get implemented. That's what the workshop's about.
that's fantastic. Digital Days came out on December 8th. For all you parents out there, we have it 99 cents the month of December because the new year is a great time to break habits, start putting new ones together. So go over and check it out. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place you want it. That's for the ebook is going to be 99 cents. So Marshall, thank you. Oh, I should mention too, Marshall is spelled Marshall. Tial. It's not the other version that we always see. So it's Marshall A. Peter Digital Daze. Marshall, thank you for being on the show. I think people are really going to get a lot out of this.
Thank you, Juliet. Really appreciate what you've done. Look forward to catching up again soon. Truly appreciate being on your podcast. Thank you.